I think I know the way, forget it. The beginner's mind has many possibilities. And the game is to keep the beginner's mind, the emptiness, the beginner's mind.
Welcome to another episode of Ram Dass's Here and Now. This is episode 290, and it's called The Balance Between Emptiness and Compassion. And it was recorded during a weekend workshop that Ram Dass led in San Jose, California, back in May of 1992. Yes, that was 23 years ago, and it was just after the LA riots. And so you can hear him here sort of addressing the unrest of that moment. And it is almost as if he is speaking to us today. It feels like the same uncertainty, the same fear, the same anger, the same yearning for harmony that feels alive in the world today. So if you want more support for this, really encourage you to also check out the new book, There Is No Other. It's a collection of teachings from Ram Dass and friends, and it has this same current. How do we dissolve the boundaries of othering? How do we get out of the hierarchy of helper and helped? How do we get back into our wholeness, both within ourselves and together? It is a book that offers wise hope even in divided times. So check it out. There is no other. And if you'd like to explore these teachings together with others, sort of a support group of sorts, we invite you to come to the Ram Dass Soul Pod meetups, where we gather together to do practice, to share reflections, to dive deeper into these teachings. Check it out. Go to ramdass.org/fellowship. And so I invite you to take a breath, relax your shoulders, drop into the coherence of your own heart, and let the words of Ram Dass wash over you. And as always, whatever good comes from these lectures, may they ripple out and be a benefit for all beings everywhere. Namaste and blessings.
To watch in that very subtle practice we just did, the way in which one sings and doesn't sing at the same moment, the way one is the actor and the ocean in which the act is happening, and the way you can sit as the ocean or the sky, watching phenomena of your mind and heart, including you singing. And you are singing and you're not singing. And that, in a way, is the secret of karma yoga, of acting and not acting at the same moment. And when that's working, then every act you do is deepening your ability to simultaneously be acting and not acting. And it's the not acting that serves as a balance for the acting. If you just are busy being an actor, you burn out. Because you think you're doing somewhere and you're going somewhere and you have a will and an intention and you want to do good and you want to help people. And it's a mind trip. There's another place that compassion arises out of. And it's that balance of emptiness and the vulnerability and the softness of the heart. It's a spontaneous, generative, spontaneous compassion that arises out of the vastness of the ocean. It's not something you do for somebody or to somebody or even with somebody. So I started out by saying that it's very difficult to balance these two planes of reality, these two vibratory rates, these mansions, whatever metaphor you want, so that there is emptiness and there is compassion. I remember when I was with a beautiful Tibetan Lama named Kalu Rinpoche. He had a head like a skull. I mean, it was like it was already a skull. Beautiful, beautiful man who died about a year and a half ago, I guess, and they salted him, and then they're going to gold plate him, or gold him, and then you can see him in gold. It's great. I love it. A living Morty, a dead Morty. And when I asked him what I was just sitting with him, and he was giving a Wong an initiation for several hundred people, and I was a student in it. And it involved a mantra that you were supposed to do every day to this form of the deity. And I said, I really can't do that. I have a guru, and my guru is my... And he said, Ram Dass, you don't understand. Every time you think of your guru, you do all these mantras. And he said, you only have 3 things to do this lifetime. He said, honor your guru, deepen your emptiness, and deepen your compassion. Now, it's interesting because in the Tibetan practice of Dzogchen, which is this ocean and sky practice, that's a part of it. The first thing that happens when you sit down to do the practice is entering into a devotional relationship to the guru, to what's called the root guru. And it isn't entering into a relationship with somebody you know necessarily. It's entering into a relationship with a being that holds the lineage of that quality of ocean or sky. It's like opening your heart to any being that ever rested in the ocean or the sky as awareness. And realizing that that's your forebear, it's your lineage holder. And you feel such appreciation for a being that has done that. That's part of the essence of Buddhism. Buddha is not treated as a god. Buddha is treated as a human being who awakened fully in this birth, did it and brought together the balance of emptiness and compassion. And you express honor to such a being. And it's only when the heart is opened with the devotion and love and appreciation of this being who is your lineage holder, who's drawing you towards it, who's saying, yes, it's possible, come on. Then when your heart is open, then you sit down and practice the emptiness. It's interesting just to watch the balances inside yourself, because it's so easy in a very devotional climate to get so over into the emotional stuff. Like in gospel singing, there's so much emotional joy and juice, and it's absolutely superb. But if freedom is the issue, then if there's any clinging to that, it's just like every other method. It's a trap as well as something which liberates. And it's interesting to teach and appear to have opinions when I'm also reciting inside myself the third patriarch's, the great way is not difficult for those who have no opinions, and laughing at the thing that those who know do not speak, those who speak do not know, and those who know do not speak. So my art form is to speak while not speaking. If I think I'm speaking, I already lost it. If I think I have opinions, I already lost it. If I think I know the way, forget it. The beginner's mind has many possibilities. And the game is to keep the beginner's mind, the emptiness, the beginner's mind. So yesterday we played with meditation and chanting, these different places, feeling tones, and we're talking about inner experiences now this weekend. The quality of your inner perception and your connection to these different planes of awareness. And it's like you're tuning an instrument. You're tuning yourself to have cable television, have these many planes of consciousness. So we yesterday practiced some meditation practice. Then we talked about what spiritual was, about planes of reality or vibratory rates. And then we talked about strategies or techniques for coming into these altered states of consciousness. I mean, there's fasting, there's drugs, there's meditation, there's chanting, there's trauma. Falling off a cliff helps. One guy kept saying he wanted to see God around maharaj-ji, and maharaj-ji said, well, go to the lake and attach 2 rocks to your feet and jump in, and you will see God. That's the quick form. So we talked about the strategies. And then in the afternoon, we examine clinging and hearing in that group process. And the whole issue of the relation of that is that as your mind clings less, you are more fully in the moment. And when you're more fully in the moment, quietly, with emptiness, without grabbing, each wave comes up, you don't grab it, you just let it come up, exist, just naturally. Fall away. Your mind hears a bird, you're hearing the bird. You're fully hearing the bird. And a moment later, when the bird song ends, there's a new moment. You're not necessarily holding on to, I just heard a bird. It's the next moment and the next moment. And there's a fullness about every moment that makes the future and the past rather uninteresting. And your own storyline not that fascinating. And what will happen to her? Will she, won't she, can she, can't she? And the deepest inner clinging, as somebody pointed out yesterday, that what they saw was that the root clinging was the clinging to self. And that's, in fact, the essence of the matter. That the deepest teaching the Buddha gave, I think, was the concept of anatta, meaning there is no self. That the self, what you experience as me, is just a set of phenomena that are coming and going and coming and going and coming and going. And behind that is awareness, and awareness is I as opposed to me. And when you think me, you can do an exercise when you feel like it. Just sit down and say me and keep feeling all the associations to that. And then see how each one of them is this subtle clinging of mind. Until, as you let them go, you just rest in the I. And the definition of yourself is so liquid that the existential moment determines how you manifest. So that when it's appropriate, you are a mother. When it's appropriate, you're a driver. When it's appropriate, there's no clinging. Each time, the existential situation determines it. So that when your children grow up, you're not busy being no longer a mother. You are whatever this new moment allows. And it keeps a kind of openness and liquidity about the way you live your life. So we're talking about the balance between emptiness and compassion. We're talking about the balance between control with the mind and boundless love with the heart. I'm just giving you the balances or tensions that you and I as humans, species, play with. We're dealing with the tension between ourselves as separate entities with ego structures and bodies, and so on, and ourselves as part of one thing that has no separateness at all. And we're dealing with the balance or tension, depends on which way you look at it, between the planes of reality where you look at the world of suffering and your heart breaks because you are a human, emotional, caring, empathetic being. And the other plane where you look at the universe of forms and see the beauty of the law, the articulation of the karma, or the way the process is all working with each other, and the trees blooming and the animal attacking and the whole thing. You just see the thing and the beauty of it all, including the chaos, the suffering, all of it. And you sit in awe of the perfection of it. And to be in awe of the perfection and still have your heart breaking with the suffering and wanting to take away the suffering, that's a balance. It's a tension that we exist with. And I find myself again and again in the paradoxical situation that I see suffering as grace, and I am working as hard as I can to take away the suffering of a human being I love. And I'm dealing with that paradox. And it is a paradox. But the word paradox really means things you can't intellectually put together because they're opposed. That's on one plane of reality. But what we're talking about are different planes of reality. And in those kinds, things are different. Like there's a plane of reality where there's good and evil, where there's two. It's the world of two. Dark and light, male, female, yin yang, positive and negative energies, good and evil. And then there's like a line from G. Manly Hall who says, "One who knows not that the Prince of Darkness is but the other face of the King of Light knows not me." Or once one knows that the Princess of Darkness is but the other face of the Queen of Light knows not me. It's like behind the two is one. And that in the Christian world is the very delicate relationship between Satan and God. It's a great image of that story of Satan and God walking down the street, and they see a shiny object, and God picks it up and he says, "Ah, truth." You know, truth is formless and truth is truth. And Satan says, "Oh yes, here, give it to me and I'll organize it." And you can see the minute you impose structure out of spirit, you get religion. And it's like put in a heavy dose of calcification. I mean, Peter was indeed the rock. And rocks are living truth too, they just move slow. I mean, the church can have tens of thousands of years before it crumbles into something else. It's so interesting to live your life with senses of history, of watching as we sit with LA riots and all of the destabilizing forces in our culture, to remember Greece and Rome. Rome's a good example, and Egypt. And then remember, I mean, if you start to go on the Eastern trip, my God, that's all like drops in the water, because we're talking kalpas and yugas. And when things get dark and you sit down like with my guru and you say, "Isn't this terrible?" He says, "What do you expect? It's the Kali Yuga." There are 4 stages, each of which is, like the smallest one's probably about 400,000 years old. And that really takes care of written history, doesn't it? And there's these yugas, the Sat Yuga, where the bull of truth has all four legs on the ground. So there's truth. Everybody speaks truth. Everybody's straight with each other. The love is pure. Everybody's resting in love and acting perfectly dharmically. Then comes the second yuga, the Tret Yuga, where the bull has one leg off the ground. See, there's a little bit of deception. Not much, though. Still pretty straight. That's like Harry Truman. Hey. See, then comes the Dwart Yuga, when there's 2 feet off the ground. It's getting a little shaky. And then comes Richard Nixon, the Kali Yuga, where there's 3 legs off the ground, where everybody says, of course government officials lie. Of course business advertising lies. Doesn't everybody lie all the time? Isn't that what you expect? You're living in a whole different universe of consciousness. They say in the Kali Yuga, it's so dark that just to say the name Ram gets you enlightened. I mean, just to remember the name Ram in the midst of all that stuff, because it's all so fascinating in the Kali Yuga. I mean, you can watch everybody's adrenaline out there at getting a bargain out and back at the flea market. It's just beautiful. Like, you know, it's juice. Buying something you don't want at a price you can afford. Oh boy. Now, if you have that sense of history, you know you're in the Kali Yuga and you're not in it. Just like you're loving the devotion and you're empty. You're learning how to get both of them going all at once. It's an exercise, and history helps. So you don't think we're turning the wheel, you know, creating the wheel. It's just another round. And that's why that line, when people ask the Dalai Lama, what do you think of the Big Bang Theory? And he said, which one? I mean, yeah, right. You Johnny-come-latelys. See, if you think you're real only, then this Big Bang seems very important. See, because the Buddha said, you know how many times you've done this one? I mean, this? Along with all the times you were turtles and everything else. He said, just imagine a mountain 6 miles high, 6 miles wide, 6 miles long, and every 100 years a bird flies over the mountain with a silk scarf in its beak. And it runs the scarf across the top of the mountain. In the time it would take for the scarf to wear away the mountain. That's how long you've been doing this. Doesn't it seem real? Doesn't this lifetime seem like it's really it? It did last time, and the time before, and the time before that. It's like dreaming at night. Don't you think when you're in it, it's real? I woke up this morning, and I was really surprised that it was a dream. Wait till you wake up from this. That's why the moment of death is so interesting. Oh my God, it really sucked me in. I mean, look at this one. Does it seem real? Do you really think you're in San Jose sitting in a, you know, like, really? The dreams seem real this morning. And the fun is living in the dream and not living in the dream. And being real in the dream, not phony. The art is to realize that you're all those things at once. At first, it's sequential. You're caught in the dream because there's clinging, and then you leap out of the dream and you're out in La La Land, and you forget your zip code number, see, and then you come back and it's real again on this clinging. As the clinging gets less and less, you are in it and you're not in it. And as you stop being frightened that you're going to lose the ocean, you can dive into the passions more and more until you're fully passionate and fully empty. You're fully in form and you're fully formless. It's when the Buddhists say nirvana and samsara are one. Well, that's roughly what we covered yesterday. So, questions? Yeah.
I'd like to know how you feel about the concept of his time, and like, is the Richard Albert that went to Harvard, is that still existing right now?
She's asking about time and whether the Richard Alpert that went to Harvard is still existing. Well, of course, I have my little cute response that I use all the time, that who I was then sitting in my therapy office with my necktie and my clipboard behind the desk would have hospitalized who I am now. If who I am now came in to see who I was then. Because he would have to respond to the perceptions I have of reality in pathological terms, since it would threaten the hell out of who he was then. Now, but yet he's here. He's here. But the other routine that I do all the time, which is just such a pretty image, I can't resist always doing it, is the thing I say of, in all the years that I've been through psychoanalysis, psychology, doing therapy, drugs, guru, mantra, meditation, spiritual practices, in all those years, in 30 years, I haven't gotten rid of one neurosis. Not one. They're all still here. So Richard Alpert is still here with all of his patterns. The only thing that's changed is that while all those neuroses were these huge monsters that would take me over, I mean, anything that was coming out of fear, like lust is coming out of fear. And I would be just like, oh, God is beautiful, you're God. And lust would come along, and it would possess me, and I'd lock in. And then I would say, wouldn't you like to come up and see my holy pictures? Right? And I'd be horrified with myself, but I didn't care. See, and at those points, those neuroses were really powerful, and they possessed me, and I was still Richard Alpertness. Now what they are is like these little schmooze, and they're my style. And hi, come on in and have tea. It's much more that quality of relationship. So all of Richard Alpertnesses are now around, but it's more like, it's what they say about the mind. The mind is a great servant, but a lousy master. And that means the same thing as ego. Because ego is a structure of the mind, that who you think you are is a great servant to have around in order to control the game on this plane. But if that's who you think you are, it's your master and you're trapped. So that Richard Alpert has become the servant of Ram Dass. Ram Dass means servant of God. So it's a progression of servants back into nothing. Wow, that's true. Yes. How do I keep doing the things that I wanted, that are deep in my heart to do, like painting my mural, and still let go of it? There was a cocktail party. This was 25 years ago. And at the cocktail party was the violinist Isaac Stern. And for those of you who don't know, he's an extraordinary violinist, world-famous violinist. And so it was in the acid days, and Isaac came up and he said, if he took LSD, would he be a better fiddle player? I mean, would you paint murals more? And I said to him, I thought about it, I said, well, it would depend on why you took the acid. No, I said it would depend on why you were playing the fiddle. If you were playing the violin to please your mother, which could be, a good Jewish, neurotic achiever to get love, like I was in, If you were doing that and you took acid, you'd probably see through it and you wouldn't want to play the violin anymore. But probably after about 5 years, when you quieted down enough, it's like having a grief reaction, after that, you'd begin to feel that out of all of the existential moment, you have this incredible skill to communicate, to touch those feelings, and you'd end up a better fiddle player than ever. He said, I think I won't take LSD. So either you trust that the mural painting is coming out of the truth of your being, and that the more you give up, the more you will be a better mural painter. Because that's what it is that is mural painting-ness. Can you hear that? Yeah. Yes?
I want you to talk about synchronicity. I've been experiencing various synchronicities, and I don't understand what's causing them, if anything. Or, I mean, they're just wonderful and mysterious, and,
Yeah.
what does it mean, or what shouldn't maybe I shouldn't think about it, or what?
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful question. Synchronicity, which is the seeing the relationships among things and seeing the perfect ways in which they appear and juxtapose to each other, is true of everything if you're standing back far enough. And what's happening when you begin to see synchronicities is that you are no longer living on the plane of linear time, where you're just seeing time going in one direction. And so you're seeing how it all works out, as well as what is happening. And the way it's working out feeds back so that you feel in the moment the perfection of how it all is related to each other, and it keeps blowing your mind. And what it is it's an opening to living on two planes simultaneously. And the part of you that doubts, that says, I want to know what's happening, is the mind, the intellectual mind, which is living in linear time, which can't know this synchronicity. That's bizarre because of the way it analyzes stuff. So you're getting two levels of process inside yourself happening simultaneously. I mean, that's the way I hear that.
Yeah, it's not just that it's not just that my perspective has changed. I mean, events occur which...
You don't know what you weren't seeing before. That's it, really. It's really that you don't know what you weren't seeing before. What you are noticing now is the events.
Dramatic things happen, like people breaking into my car. If I told you the result, it's very synchronous. It's not...
I don't question that they get more and more, wow. And I think that if you stood back far enough, it would all be a big wow. See, to say, oh, it's finally wow, look what's happening now, that's what would be called an astral mythic trap. You know, that's the Messiah's coming, the New Age, Armageddon. It's a trip. It's an incredible trip, but it's trippy. It's not interesting enough.
What do you mean by astral mythic?
You don't understand what I'm saying? Well, those are three different levels I put together. I'm sorry. You want me to take them apart one by one? Astral is a vibratory level like normal waking consciousness, astral, causal, Brahmaloka, the void planes. Mythic means on the astral plane, there are planes in which all of this seems like it's just humans hanging out in San Jose. Another one is we are ancient souls who have come together to gather in the cave, as we've done millions of times, to ask ourselves, what is the meaning of our existence? And we've been doing this for thousands of times. And it just appears that we're in these bodies sitting in San Jose. That's the mythic one. And the trip means that it's finite. It's finite. If this isn't real, how come we have to keep coming back and doing it until we learn that it isn't real? Until we know it isn't real. As long as you say, if this isn't real, send her around again. Excuse me. I am a therapist. I work with people who are really suffering. How to help them see that that is not the absolute truth of their lives when it seems so like the absolute truth of their lives. And that's your inner work on yourself. When you are resting in the place where it is not the truth of life, then the way you deal with them will be whatever they need from you, but all of it will be transmitting that appreciation that it is not the real suffering. But as long as their suffering sucks you into thinking you're a therapist helping them, everybody's just feeding it to each other. So the art of a therapist is the work on oneself until you are resting and therapy is happening, because that's the existential need of the moment. Is that, yeah, it's great, that's nice, yeah.
I'm a single mom of a little 2-year-old, and I wanted you to talk about this thing I can't reconcile, my responsibility with this child, my responsibility financially, and then letting go, or I just want you to talk about how.
Mother of a 2-year-old, wanting to weigh the issue of responsibility to the child, to the economics, to the support, emotional support of the child, and trusting and letting go. See, it's a scariest example, but it's the same example as the mural example. That as long as you distrust the fact that in a free field, in the existential moment, that child's presence and its karmic relationship to you and its needs would define your appropriate response. So that you think you have to hold yourself in to do it right. But when the minute you let go of that, if it is right, you'd of course do it. So the answer is, in a way, that you use your relationship with your 2-year-old child as your yoga until you are there with the child doing it all and nothing is being done. Okay? Because you see in your child, just, it's like God in drag, if you will, saying, I'm a little child, take care of me, and you get sucked into motherness. There's that great image in the image of Krishna and Krishna's mother, and Krishna's Gopala, the baby Krishna. And he's being rocked by his mother, and he's already knows who he is. He's an avataric form. He's fully everything. And so he opens his mouth to yawn, and his mother is looking down adoringly at him, and she looks into his mouth, and there are all the planets and the stars and the galaxies and all, and she freaks. She absolutely freaks. And then what he does is, out of compassion, he once again veils her eyes with mother love. You hear that one? I mean, that's in so thick. You know, he veils her eyes with mother love. And the art of having them both going, that's the having the mother love and having just the spaciousness, being the therapist and having the spaciousness. It's the whole question of where acts come out of, and whether you trust enough that what you're doing is in the way of things. And the more you trust, the more you have to let go of I ought and I should, because when you open, it is. I mean, I keep giving up teaching. See how good it is? Yeah.
Does one's individual consciousness survive?
Does one's individual consciousness, awareness, of course, survives death, because awareness is neither born nor dies, but it isn't individual. That part of awareness that is attached to, that is identified with a separate, unique thing, in the root sense, it's identified with the set of karmic predispositions that keep creating themselves through cause and effect, or through intentionality, or whatever it is. And so after you die, whatever that particular configuration is still going until it's dissolved back into the universe. So there is in that a consciousness, yes. So for somebody that isn't enlightened at the moment of death, there is a sense of separateness in the soul level, if you want to call it that has continuity to it, yes. And that it's experienceable. Oh yeah, as long as you want it, you get it. See, everybody says, I want to die, but I don't want to die. See? Yeah, you as a personality aren't there. You just asked me about consciousness. You didn't ask about personality. I mean, if you're Sam, you're not going to be Sam. See? So, yeah. Is this too weird for everybody, or are you here? What's happening? Okay, go ahead, yeah. How to practice compassion with people you find it hard to love. Well, I do lots of little exercises around that. And what I see is I begin to be interested in who I don't love rather than who I love. At first, when you're living in a non-loving space in your head, you're so excited by somebody you love, you want to possess them. After you start to be resting in love, you're surprised when somebody you don't love. And you get fascinated with why you don't love them. So that what I notice is that there are people whose actions I'm so righteous about that I can't open my heart to them. There are other people who have some symbolic value awakening something I want so bad that I can't open my heart to them. Like I'm still, because I fundraise and I'm coming out of my background and I'm living in this culture, wealth affects me. So I can be with 5 people and I can see God in 4 of them, and the 5th one, all I see is a rich person. You know? Now I know there's God in there, but I can't get through to it because I got so sucked in by the veil. And I become interested in what sucks me in. And that's what I work with. I just sit and look at that person and hang out with them and keep working to go beyond it. Keep going behind it, keep going behind it, and realize the distinction between abhorring somebody's action and abhorring them. And learning how to do what Kabir says of do what you do with another person, but never put them out of your heart. See, now that's a practice. And every time you put them out of your heart, you realize you're only seeing one plane of reality and you reach to see behind it. Okay? Does that deal with your question? It's nice. I think purification is a lot like what I just answered before, which was as you get to the point where you're starting to taste the fruits of your spiritual effort, you're starting to understand what it's like to be in the ocean or to be in the sky or something like that. In other words, after you taste and acknowledge and allow the truth of the high to sink in, then you look at those things which bring you down, which catch you, which turn you off, and you start to clean them up. And that's really the purification that comes out of the yearning. Not out of I ought or I should, but really out of a yearning. And then you see that the foods you eat might affect your consciousness. And it depends on the attitudes you have about it also. It might be the way you relate to people, because you can feel that when you're in love with the world, there's this liquidity and it's all fresh and happening. And the minute you turn off to judging somebody or disliking them, there's a whole block that locks in and it gets thick. And you start to work with that edge, and that's purification. So you begin to see that when you lie to people or you steal from them, it closes off something. And it's like pushing away the beloved. And you finally realize that even though you could get some advantage from lying or stealing, what you get isn't worth what you lose. Then it's purification. Can you hear where it's coming from? See, the early purification is like the biblical injunctions, the 10, don't do this or you'll go into hell. That's the fear one. You can motivate a lot of purification from fear. The other is motivated by love, by the yearning towards it. Boy, that's interesting. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
I have a spiritual teacher, and I feel that when I'm more involved, I will let go of that person.
Honoring your guru. She's interested in guru-ness because she has a guru, and it's like do you let go of the guru, or what happens? Do you hold on? And what does honoring the guru mean, and so on. When I met my guru, who was a sadhu in India in a blanket, his relationship to me mirrored for me the way in which how I wasn't. And as such, it helped me a great deal. And also, he showed me the possibility of unconditional love, because he didn't care whether he lived or died. And that opened my heart in a certain way. And that started a process. Now, then he died in '73. And the question is, did I miss him? And for a little while, I missed the form. But then I saw that what was mirroring from him wasn't the form. And over the time, at first I had the pictures of him and the memories of the stories and the moments. And then an interesting thing happened. I edited a book of 1,000 stories about him, The Miracle of Love. Just a lot of little stories. And in the course of that, there were some 2,000 stories collected. I just kept hearing the richness of the storyline, but when the book went out, a number of people read the book and looked at the pictures and then had experiences of connection to him. And when they told them to me, they had a ring of validity, of truth to them, where I realized then that they had the same guru I had, even though they didn't have the storyline of the being with him. So that was one of the things that started to change the nature of my relationship. I saw that it didn't matter whether the guru had been a form alive or not. Then the next part of that whole business was that over the years, it got emptier and emptier and emptier of form, where now I meet my guru most intimately in the place of wisdom mind, of emptiness. And of emptiness and just compassionate emptiness, of loving emptiness. So that I still have the guru, but the form of the guru has been changed into the deepest part of the being. And so that when Ramana Maharshi said, God, guru, and self are one and the same thing, you see where that leads you finally. Okay? Yes?
I feel a lot of fear around and LA, I feel a lot of fear about things.
He said, I feel a lot of fear around events that are happening, like the LA riots, things of that nature. I've been giving a lecture a lot, which I'm not giving this weekend particularly, but it's called Riding the Waves of Change. And it talks about the destabilizing forces we're living with at the moment in this culture. And what precipitates the destabilizing forces? The polarization between haves and have-nots. Destabilizing force. The ecological imminence of the results of our karma of technology. Destabilizing force, including nuclear waste, destabilizing force. The breakdown and changes of the social structures in the system, that is, the breakdown of the extended family, the lack of respect for authority, the inability, not having any wise people in the tribe any longer. I mean, there's a whole set of breakdowns of systems. Now, and there are more, but taking just those few, how do you respond in a way to all of the uncertainties and changing forces and the potential that it may end up dying? That is, you may be babysitting the death of the culture of which you're a part. Okay? So how do you be at your own death? Interesting. And the fear you're having is because of your identification with that which is dying. And the work on oneself is to find the space in oneself, or cultivate the sky or the ocean, which has nothing to do with death. And the more you rest in that, the more you can dance with the fear and the change and that which is frightened. I mean, you don't deny the fear. The fear is the fear of you as a separate entity. The non-fear is the non-fear of you as part of everything, because as everything changes, like when you're inside the ocean, the fact the ocean makes a wave doesn't frighten you because it's just part of yourself that's doing the wave and then coming back into itself. And the LA riots is part of yourself. And the fear and the anger and the lack of opportunity and all of that stuff is part of yourself. And when you feel that, in other words, the totality of the identification, it's all an internal matter as it goes through its paroxysms of this and that. It may mean your IRA isn't any good, or you lose your house, or you don't get medical attention, or you die. If you can be at peace with all those, you can really ride these waves. And then you can bring peace into the situation, which is the optimum condition. See, what's happening is, as things get destabilized, people get frightened, just like you do. When people get too frightened, they get very rigid. They try to hold on to what they've got because they're afraid. They try to stop change. But you can't stop change because change is the nature of things. It's like trying to stop death. You can't stop it. You can't keep the leaves on the trees. You can't stop the process. But in your zeal to do it, you get very fanatic. So you have fundamentalism, you have neo-nationalism, you have a lot of ethnic prejudice, increase in anti-Semitism. You have a lot of these things that happen to stop. You have Jesse Helms, trying to stop the game. And the game can't be stopped. So ultimately it leads to violence. And the art form is to be part of that in the universe which can handle change without being reactive to the fear, by cultivating the parts in yourself which are not afraid.
This podcast is brought to you by the Love Serve Remember Foundation and ramdas.org. We appreciate you listening, and we appreciate all the support that you've given us. Please continue that support and donate at ramdas.org. We can then continue to share what Ram Dass has been sharing for all of these years. Thank you.